The air oil separator is officially done. It's mounted. All the lines are routed. Both heads, the block, the vent, the coolant lines, and the oil drain.
What's up everybody and welcome to my channel. Today, as you see in the title, we are putting in an air oil separator. So, IAG has an air oil separator and they make a bunch of different kits for many different cars. But mine, being a Japanese import, they don't make a kit specifically for my car. The AOS they make is meant to mount where my brake booster is, and obviously I can't do that. And where the oil drain goes is this one port on the back of the block where the PCV valve is. Considering I have to mount this in a different location, that oil drain spot is not going to work. My thought process is where that charcoal canister used to be that I mounted the catch can at the moment, I'm going to put the AOS, and that is going to look OEM plus, which is nice, but now that's lower than that oil drain spot they initially want us to use. So what I'm going to do, drop the oil pan, put a bung on it, and that's going to be the oil drain. Besides that, there's already bolts in the frame rail. I just have to make a little bracket to mount the air oil separator. I got all new lines. We have to block off something and do a couple things here and there. So we're gonna get to that. I'll show you what I have, and then we could finally get started. So right here we have my IAG Competition Series air oil separator. It's a little messy because we had some crazy flooding back in September, and this was in the basement when that happened. Regardless, we're replacing all these lines. This came off a 2012 Subaru, I believe. So this coolant line, all these hoses for the two heads and the PCV valve are not going to work. So if you can see this is a Gates line. It's a fuel line specifically meant for a PCV system. This one's a 1/2 inch. This guy is a 5/8. This one goes to the PCV valve, or the PCV port off the block. These go to the two heads. This is the oil drain, and these are the coolant lines. It's fairly simple, luckily. But I got all new hoses from Gates. Advanced Auto Parts had some. I had to order another off of eBay. But let me show you what else we need. So here's all the other stuff we need. There's quite a few things. So I don't really need the new intake. I don't need a new fuel filter for the AOS, but in the process of doing this, I'm going to be doing a couple other things as well. Here's even more. So, considering I said I have to weld a bung on the oil pan for the oil drain, I'm going to be using a -10 oil fitting because the line that's the oil drain is a 1/2 inch inner diameter, and -10 is just about a 1/2 inch inner diameter. So this will be the new oil drain. I also have some heat protective sleeve for it because it runs right by the headers. But here's the steel bung I'm getting welded on. Got the fitting. I got a 90 degree so it runs up and around the headers as far away as I could possibly get it. Because I'm taking off the oil pan, I have to take off the headers and we have to replace the gaskets, but I also have new headers going on. You'll see that in another video. Like I said, I needed new lines. I ordered these from IAG. It's a 24-inch coolant line, which would be the short one. We got a 43-inch coolant line, which is the one that runs off of the turbo. So this would be from the back of the engine to the front. This is just from the coolant reservoir to the AOS, but both of these you needed because they have the crimped line with the exact fitting and O-ring we need. I think this is the Gates PCV hose that I ordered off of eBay. This is the 5/8 one. This reducer is 3/4 to 5/8. The port on the block is 3/4, which is this little hose that I got here. 5/8 is the line for the AOS, and this is 5/8 to 5/8 90 degree barbed fitting. We'll just cut that to size however we need. We got extra. So I got a couple fittings. This one specifically I got from McMaster Car. Extreme pressure steel pipe fitting with external hex drive, 1/4 inch BSPT with the older style EJ20G. The PCV valve is in the back of the intake manifold under the throttle body. And we need this because with the competition series, it deletes the PCV valve. This is going to block off the old PCV valve. We'll just put some nylon thread locker and put that in there. Taking off the throttle body, we got an OEM throttle body gasket. I got a nice piece of steel, a little crusty right now, but we have to make a new bracket off the frame rail for the AOS. I forgot how much shit I had to buy. Like I said, I didn't need a new intake per se, but the HKS one is known not to be as reliable, so I got a nice Gretty one cone filter like a K&N. Because this is a competition series AOS, we're deleting this little valve that goes to the intake. I needed a new 90 degree for the intake because that's where the old port is. So we got only the best Vibrant 2.5 inch 90 degree, which comes off the turbo because we have that weird 90 degree intake port. And considering this is 2.5 because my intake pipe is 2.5, the inlet of the turbo is only 2.25. So what we have here, it'll be like this coming off the turbo, 2.25 to 2.5. It has to get trimmed down almost to here and here, give or take, so it's going to be a tight elbow. This is as clean as I could get it. Not sure how much we'll have to cut this, but we shall see. So like I said, I don't need this for the AOS, but while I'm there, since I take off the throttle body, I can get access to my fuel lines. And because I'm putting a new filter, this is aftermarket, I have to run AN lines to that, so I have to modify them a little bit. So in the process, I'm going to be doing that. And then considering I have to jack up the whole engine to get the oil pan off, I have some new engine mounts that I never put in with new hardware. So then there's that. And because we got to do the oil, see, I got my oil here, my filter here. I also got an oil filter cover just because the equal length headers run super close to the filter itself. I want to keep all the temps down as best I can, so got that. Headers are ceramic coated. Got heat sleeve for that. We should be all good. So after quite a bit of struggling, I already started because it's kind of redundant to see me take off the headers. I'm probably really backlit, but I'm covered in rust, sweating like crazy. It's 95 plus degrees out. Let me show you what I found with the headers and why I'm replacing them. So I don't know if you've seen any of my other videos where I said why not to wrap your headers, and I'll show you right here. There you go. Cracked all the way around, at least 3 inches long, which is honestly insane, worse than I thought. But you could also see all the rust and shit. So also underneath there is getting pretty rusty. There's a couple bolts on the oil pan that I know I'll get off, but I don't want to put them back on. And even things I just replaced, like the steering rack bolts, those are pretty crusty as well. So I definitely want to make like an under tray, so we'll do that after. So we got the oil pan off after struggling for probably almost 2 hours. You can see here, damaged it a little bit. We'll have to put this on a flat surface and hammer this flat again. Clean off the silicone, clean out the inside, and take a wire brush to the outside where they're going to weld. And then I'm probably going to repaint it because it is getting a little bubbly from the East Coast weather. So let's get to that so then we can finally get this shit welded. So I'm starting off with a 3/8 drill bit because that's what the inner diameter of the bung is. And then I'm going to go to a 1/2 inch, which is the size of that lip, so it's going to sit in there nicely. I got to spray all the metal shavings out. But now let's go get it welded. Alright, so we got the oil pan welded. I went to Bean Fab as usual. They always do great welding. We painted it black. I also put some rust preventative paint on here because you can see some bubbling. And then I hit it with some super high temp gloss black. So regardless, it looks good. So that's ready. We could throw this back on. Also, some of the bolts were rusty, so I ordered some more oil pan bolts just to play it safe. And then I believe the oil dipstick O-rings were bad because there was some oil that was dripping down the oil pan. So got new O-rings for that as well, just precautionary. And I think I got all the metal shavings out. I hope so. But now let's throw this back on the car, and then we can mock up the air oil separator, make a nice bracket, route all the lines, and all that good stuff. So let's go do that. So now, since we have our oil pan installed, we have to do a couple things. First, remove my catch can, which used to be a charcoal canister that you'll be replacing. We're gonna have to take off the throttle body and some coolant lines, but let's remove this and then we'll continue. Whew. All dry rotted as fuck. All right. Now this guy, part of the new system, deletes these two ports, which is for the PCV valve setup. So I got a new intake, so we gotta take this off. I don't know if you see that, but hella blow by, which is why we're putting in this air oil separator. Yep. So this is what we're messing with right now. And this is part of the PCV system. It runs down here, tees into the block right under the turbo, and then right here is another part of it, which is where the PCV valve is. So we have to take this off, take off the PCV valve, and plug it. And this is getting new hoses from here. Got it. So that port right there under the turbo, that's where we're routing the big 3/4 inch line, which then has an adapter to, I think, 5/8, and then run it all the way over there. Also, we have to take off this PCV valve, so we'll do that, plug it, and then we're good to keep on moving. So to get the PCV valve off, you need a 19mm. Yep. Just so you know, this is a 1/4 inch BSPT external hex drive plug. Let's put on some nylon tape so we don't have to worry about it coming out. Just snugging it up nicely, not too much. The bottom one you have to use a zip tie because you won't be able to tighten this. Now connect the 5/8 line. So I'm going to take this bracket off, mark where to bend it, and then I'll make the bracket out of cardboard just so everything is where it should be. Besides cracking it, it looks pretty good. I might try to get this welded. I'm not sure yet. We shall see. I'll drill a hole in the middle, run the line through it, put a piece of rubber around the edge of it so it doesn't chafe the line, and then we should be good.
So sick. Alright, now let's mount it to the car. Now that the AOS is fully mounted, I'm going to route all the lines and cut them to size. And then we can make the AN line that runs to the oil pan. This runs underneath. Now we have to route this really long one all the way across. Damn, that was ran nice and easy. This little guy runs right here. So I'm not going to put on yet, but you get the idea. So if you look right here, there's a hole in the fender well. So I routed it down. So we routed it behind the fender. I removed the fender well mud guard to put it through this wire harness hole. And now I have it just resting behind the subframe right there. I'll just zip tie it further out of the way. So you see right here, I got the line routed, goes up here. The headers touch right here, or would touch right here, but I'm gonna zip tie it up to one of these coolant lines so it's up and out of the way. So now we have to see how the intake's gonna be. But here's the factory elbow. You see these two ports, those are getting deleted because that's for the old PCV system. So to replace this, I got an aluminum 90-degree welded to the intake I already had. This is going to have to be cut, as well as the silicone, but that's what the new system is going to look like. So even though it hits the intake manifold a little bit, that's no big deal. Now we got to cut it in height. So now with the silicone coupler cut, we have to match it to this. Here's the intake I got made. We had this tapered piece welded on, which fits the new filter perfect. My old bracket I just moved from here to here, which holds very nicely. And then this is like a 135-degree angle there. And then we got a 90-degree for the idle air control valve, and that fits with no kinks, thankfully. But if you look here, you could see how harsh that angle is. It's starting almost even with like my fingertips, like that. And then comes around, but it works. So, and I'm happy with it. All right, so now that we have the AOS all situated, I have the throttle body off from plugging the intake manifold, and while that's off, I'm gonna be putting a new fuel filter. This is the fuel filter I have. I already put it in its bracket because I needed a 1/4 inch spacer, more or less, to make it fit. I'm gonna start taking this apart, mocking this up, and making the lines. Alright, so this is how the air oil separator is going to look when it's all done. We got the 1-inch vent out the fender and down under the car. Top coolant line is going to run here to the top port of the turbo. Lower coolant line runs to the reservoir right here. Then we have the 1/2-inch PCV line. This top one runs all the way across here. Then we got the middle one running to the PCV port on this head right here. And then the 5/8 one runs right under the intake manifold and right under the turbo over here. We also have the -10 oil drain line down there because that has the 1/2-inch inner diameter, which will go on the oil drain port of the AOS. And then, as you saw, I got the bung welded on the oil pan with the -10 90-degree. So it's fairly straightforward when it comes to the routing. And then these two ports were from the factory PCV system. You can either plug these, or you can get a new intake elbow, which will be cleaner and have nothing on it. And and I made a bracket off the frame rail just like the factory one for the evap canister. And then under the intake manifold right here we have the 1/4" BSPT plug that I got from McMaster Car, and that's the whole system. The AOS I got used off of Facebook. All the lines, if you see here, we got the 5/8 line, then we got a 1/2" line. It is meant for PCV systems, not fuel injection systems, and it's made by Gates, so you could get this at Advanced Auto Parts, which is where I got mine. Besides the 3/4" pipe that came off the block, that one's still a Gates PCV line that I got off of eBay. And then you just need an adapter from the 3/8 to the 5/8 line. The top coolant line, I got a 43" hose from IAG. The lower one, I got a 24" hose from IAG. I just measured everything out before I decided to actually mount it for sure. So everything worked out as it should. Alright, so that's it for this video. I hope that was helpful, whether you're doing it on my exact car or just another car that IAG doesn't make a kit for. It's fairly straightforward, but if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please leave them in the comment section below and hit that subscribe button. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.